I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I guess I just need to get this off my chest. My wife Emily and I have been together for almost 10 years. We got married young, built a life, and on paper everything looked perfect. Or so I thought. Until recently I started noticing little things. Her phone constantly being locked, her coming home late, and her being unusually defensive whenever I asked where she'd been. At first I chalked it up to stress or work fatigue, but deep down I knew something was off. Still, I wanted to believe in her. I wanted to trust her. Then came the signs that broke whatever fragile trust I had left. She started acting bitchy, snapping at me over nothing, giving me these dismissive looks like I was beneath her. I remember one night, I asked her about her phone, and she snapped back with some bullshit about how I was being paranoid, that I was just insecure. That's when I started paying more attention, but I didn't have any solid proof yet. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong, and then came the night I found what I never expected to see. I was rummaging through my closet looking for a shirt I'd worn the day before. Stupid, I know, but I was in a hurry. That's when I saw her phone lying on the bed unlocked. I figured, what the hell, I'd just peek. I wasn't trying to spy, just needed to check something. But what I saw made my stomach drop. There were messages, flirty, intimate messages between her and her best friend, Jason. The kind of messages that make your skin crawl. They weren't just talking about sex. They were talking about how much they missed each other, how they couldn't wait to see each other again. I swear my heart stopped. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those nights I spent wondering what was wrong, why she was distant, why she snapped at me for no reason. All of it pointed to one thing. She'd been lying to me the entire time. She was cheating on me with my best friend. My mind spun, trying to process how she could do this during my grandmother's funeral, no less. How could she lie and act like everything was fine? I remember feeling this mixture of rage, heartbreak, and utter betrayal all at once. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed to think, to plan. Still, I couldn't believe it. The woman I trusted, the woman I loved, had been screwing around behind my back, and during one of the most vulnerable moments of my family's life, the funeral. That's a whole other level of cruelty. I spent the next couple of hours just sitting there, staring at her phone, replaying everything I'd seen. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of how it all could have happened. I kept going over the texts, how warm they once sounded, how intimate, how much they clearly cared about each other. I mean, I knew Jason was her best friend, but I had no idea things had gotten this far. It was like a punch in the stomach every time I thought about it. And the worst part, I remembered how she'd been acting at the funeral, her phone buzzing nonstop, her sneaky little smirks when she thought I wasn't looking. She had lied to my face about everything, said she was worried about her sister, or just catching up with some old friends when I pressed her. Yeah, right, I didn't sleep that night. I was too angry, hurt, and sick to do anything else. I kept asking myself how I missed all these signs, how I'd been so blind. I mean, she was so bitchy lately, snapping at me over nothing, making stupid excuses. She'd even told me she was so tired all the time, but it was obvious she was hiding something. I should have seen it coming. I should have known. But I was too caught up in trying to keep the peace, in believing we had a future. The thing that really tore me apart was realizing she had this whole secret life during one of the worst times for my family, my grandmother's funeral. I kept thinking about how she sat there, acting like she cared, pretending everything was fine, while her phone was probably full of messages with Jason. I couldn't believe I'd trusted her all these years. How many nights did she lie next to me, knowing what she was doing? How many times did she look me in the eye and lie through her teeth? I felt like such a fool. Betrayal cut so deep that I didn't even know who I was anymore. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't want to do it immediately. I needed to prepare. I needed a plan. I couldn't just fly off the handle and say something I'd regret. I decided to wait, to gather evidence and decide my next move. But every second that passed, the anger simmered and grew. I felt like I was losing my mind. How do you move on from something like this? How do you forgive someone who's lied so much, who's broken the vows we took? I was starting to realize that the woman I thought I knew was nothing but a complete stranger, someone capable of using me, of sneaking around with my best friend, all while pretending to be the innocent victim. The most confusing part, she was still acting like she was the victim. When I finally confronted her the next day, she threw out these ridiculous excuses, said she was just bored, that Jason was just a friend, that I was overreacting. She looked me right in the eye and called me paranoid, said I was losing my mind. That made me see her true colors even more. She's always been manipulative, good at lying, good at making herself look innocent. I wasn't new to that, but it hit me like a ton of bricks that she had played me for a fool for years. All the signs were there, but I refused to see them. Damn, I was so stupid. The betrayal wasn't just about the sex or even the lying. It was about how she had hidden it from me, how she had made me feel like I was the crazy one when I started noticing things. Now I'm sitting here, still trying to process everything, wondering how much of my life was just a lie. I know I need to decide what comes next, but right now I'm just broken. The trust is shattered, and I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again. After that confrontation, things didn't get any easier. I told her I knew everything, had the texts, the proof, everything. She didn't even bother denying it much. Just rolled her eyes, looked annoyed, and spat out some bullshit about how I was overreacting, that Jason was just a friend with benefits, and that I was jealous and insecure. She called me names, said I was controlling, that I'd ruined everything by snooping. Honestly, hearing her lie so effortlessly made me realize just how good she was at twisting everything around. She always had a way of making herself look like the victim, even when she was the one screwing everything up. The worst part was how she dismissed my feelings, like I was just another problem she didn't want to deal with. I felt so powerless, like I'd been blindsided by someone I trusted with my life. I kept thinking, how could she do this during my grandmother's funeral? While my family was grieving, she was sneaking around with Jason, probably screwing him behind my back. That image kept replaying, her hiding in the bathroom, texting him, smirking like she was getting away with something. It made me sick. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach all over again. I remember the feeling of betrayal so vividly, how angry I was, but also how deeply hurt. I mean, I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But now, all I could see was this bitchy, manipulative woman who had been secretly screwing my best friend all along. I felt humiliated, like I'd been played for a fool not just by her, but by everyone I trusted. That night, I went to bed feeling like I'd lost a piece of myself. I kept asking, how did I not see the signs? Why did I ignore all the little red flags? I kept imagining all the moments she'd lied to me, all the times I'd been too blind to notice. I was so furious I considered just kicking her out right then and there, but I knew I needed a plan. I couldn't just blow up my life without thinking, so I decided to hold my cards close for a bit. I started gathering more evidence, screenshots of the texts, her secret messages, everything I could get my hands on. I wanted to be sure I had everything before I made any move. I also started talking to some friends, people I trust, and trying to get some perspective. Honestly, I just needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy, that what I saw was real. And it was. Nobody could deny that. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, pretending everything was fine, calling me paranoid, accusing me of making stuff up. It was like she was trying to gaslight me into thinking I was the one losing my mind. That really pissed me off. I saw through her lies, they all did. But she had a way of making you doubt yourself, convincing you that it was all in your head. That's how manipulative she was. She'd throw fits, act like the victim, and then go right back to her sneaky behavior when I wasn't looking. I could tell she was trying to keep her options open, maybe hoping I wouldn't find out the full truth. The betrayal cut so deep that I started to question everything about our relationship. Were we ever really happy, or was I just fooling myself? I kept wondering if I'd missed the warning signs, if I'd been blind to how she really felt about me. The thought of losing her, of everything crashing down, was unbearable. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I needed to figure out what I was going to do, whether to fight for us or cut her loose and move on. I was caught in this emotional whirlwind, and honestly, I felt like I was drowning. The pain was real, but beneath it all I knew I had to face the truth, no matter how ugly it was. Over the next few days, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling back to that moment I found her phone, the messages, the betrayal. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirk, her dismissive attitude, the way she lied about everything. It was like I'd been living a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I kept asking myself how I'd let things get this far, how I'd been so blind. But deep down, I knew the truth. I'd trusted her blindly, and she'd taken that trust and crushed it. I decided I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. I needed to confront her again, face her head on, and get some clarity. So I called her into the living room that evening, told her I was done playing games, and demanded she give me an honest answer. She looked annoyed, like I was the one wasting her time. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and said she didn't owe me any explanations, that I was just insecure and paranoid. When I pressed her, she finally snapped, saying she was tired of my accusations, that she was just tired of this whole thing, and that Jason was just a guy she'd known forever, and that I was crazy to think she'd cheat on me. That lie made me want to scream. I knew better. I had seen enough. The way she looked at her phone, the texts, the sneaking around, all of it confirmed what I'd already suspected. And her reaction, her dismissiveness, only made it worse. I felt like I was talking to a stranger, someone who didn't give a damn about me or the life we built. I had been so naive, so sure that she loved me. Turns out she never really did. She just played her part, smiled in my face, and behind my back was screwing my best friend. That's when it all hit me, how completely I'd been duped. I was furious. Not just sad or heartbroken, I was mad as hell. This wasn't just some silly mistake, it was a calculated betrayal. She knew what she was doing, and she didn't care how much she hurt me. The fact that she'd done this during my grandmother's funeral, while everyone was mourning, made it even more brutal. I felt like she had taken all the good in our relationship and flushed it down the drain. I couldn't believe the woman I married was capable of that kind of callousness, that kind of lying. I looked at her, and honestly, I didn't see my wife anymore. I saw someone I didn't recognize, someone toxic, manipulative, and selfish. That night I made a decision. I told her I was done. Done with the lies, the cheating, the pretending that everything was okay. I told her I deserved better than this, that I wasn't going to put up with her bullshit anymore. She tried to deny it again, calling me crazy, saying I was overreacting, but I wasn't buying it. I had the evidence and I knew the truth. So I packed a bag, told her I needed space to think, and left. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a dramatic fight. I just walked out, feeling numb and broken all at once. The aftermath was brutal. I stayed with a friend that night, trying to process what had happened. I couldn't believe I'd been so naive, so blind. My trust was shattered and I felt like my world was falling apart. I kept replaying everything, her lies, her sneers, her sneaky texts. I wondered how many times she'd been doing this behind my back, how long she'd been lying to me. The pain was overwhelming, but I knew I had to face it. I had to decide whether I was going to forgive her, try to fix this, or just accept that it was over. Every part of me wanted to run, to forget, to pretend it never happened. But I knew I couldn't keep living a lie. I had to confront the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotion. I kept oscillating between anger, sadness, and a strange sense of numbness. Each morning I woke up, I'd think about what I should do next. Should I try to save the marriage? Should I walk away for good? It was like my mind was a battlefield, and every thought was tearing me apart. I kept replaying her face, her words, the way she looked at Jason like he was her entire world. And I wondered how I'd missed all the signs. Was I just too blind? Or did I refuse to see because I didn't want to believe it? One thing was clear, I couldn't stay in the same house with her anymore. The trust was completely gone. I didn't even want her near me. So I moved out into an apartment nearby and started sorting through everything. I had to think about what I wanted, what I needed. Honestly, part of me still hoped she'd come clean, admit everything, and maybe, just maybe, we could salvage some part of what we had. But deep down, I knew that was a pipe dream. The woman I married had turned into a stranger, someone capable of lying, cheating, and sneaking around during probably the worst week of my life. I reached out to Jason, my so-called best friend. I needed to hear his side of the story. What the hell he thought he was doing, screwing around with my wife during my grandmother's funeral. The conversation didn't last long. He was defensive, tried to deny everything at first, but I had the texts, the screenshots that proved what was really going on. He finally admitted they'd been sleeping together for months, that it was more than just sex, and that they thought no one would find out. Hearing that made my stomach turn. I thought I knew him. I thought he was my best friend. Turns out he was just as much a piece of shit. The betrayal hurt so much I started questioning everything. Did I ever really know her at all? Was I just fooling myself into thinking I had a happy marriage? I kept asking myself how I got here, how I went from a guy who had a decent life to someone who was completely broken. It was like a part of me had died. I couldn't look at her or Jason without feeling this deep, gnawing rage. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make them feel what I was feeling, utter betrayal, like I'd been punched in the chest every single day. Meanwhile, she kept trying to contact me, claiming she still loved me, that she made a mistake, and that it didn't mean anything. Yeah, right. It meant everything to her, I realized. She'd thrown away a decade of our life together for some sneaky sex with my best friend. That's when I finally accepted that I couldn't save this. I couldn't fix what was broken, not after all the lies. The more she begged and pleaded, the more I saw her for what she truly was: selfish, manipulative, and completely unworthy of my trust anymore. So I made the decision to divorce her. No more trying to fix things. No more pretending. I wanted out, and I wanted to start healing. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I knew I had to do it for myself. I couldn't go on living in this constant state of pain and betrayal. I've learned that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes the only way to rebuild your life is to walk away from the people who hurt you that deeply. I'm still hurt, still angry, but I also feel a strange sense of relief, like I finally took control of my life again. I guess the biggest lesson I learned from all this is that trust is fragile, and when it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. But above all, I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the worst betrayal I could imagine, and I'm still standing. If there's any advice I could give to someone in a similar situation, it's this: don't ignore the red flags. Don't stay just because you think you're supposed to. And most importantly, don't let anyone treat you like you're disposable. You deserve better. Looking back, I realized that what hurt the most wasn't just the fact that she cheated or that she lied, though those wounds run deep. It was how she made me feel after, like I was nothing. Like my love, my trust, and my loyalty meant nothing to her. The betrayal cut so deep that I questioned everything I thought I knew about love and honesty. But in the end, I guess I learned something important. I'm not defined by her betrayal. I am still here, still standing, and I refuse to let her take away my dignity or my sense of self. I've come to see that some people are just inherently selfish, unable to see past their own desires. She didn't care about the pain she caused me. She only cared about what she wanted in the moment. And Jason, he was just as guilty. Using my wife during one of the worst weeks of my life, sneaking behind my back, laughing in my face. I don't think I'll ever fully trust anyone again, but I do know that I won't let this define me. I've started working on myself, rebuilding my confidence, my independence. I've realized my worth isn't determined by her or anyone else's lies. This whole experience has been one of the most painful chapters of my life, but it's also taught me what I deserve. I deserve honesty, respect, and loyalty. I won't settle for anything less. And I hope anyone reading this who might be going through something similar remembers that you are not alone. It hurts like hell, but time heals even the deepest wounds. And in the end, you have to choose yourself. Because if you don't value yourself, no one else will. So here I am, still healing, still trying to pick up the pieces, but stronger, more cautious, and more aware of what real love looks like. And honestly, I wouldn't wish this kind of betrayal on anyone, but if it happens, I hope they find the strength I'm still trying to build. Because no matter how much it hurts, life goes on, and eventually so will you.